live, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Harley. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Painesville Township Board of Zoning Appeals. My name is Dave Benzera. I'm the vice chair of the board. I'm filling in for our chair, Mr. Tom Hill, this evening. It's our custom to start all of our BZA meetings by standing and saying the Pledge of Allegiance, so I invite you to join me and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for peace, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, what I'd like to do is ask, Rachel, could you call the roll, please?
Okay, Ken,
Here.
Randy,
Here.
Dale,
Here.
Dave Lindros,
Here.
Dave Nzera,
Here.
and Tom, who is not here.
Okay. So we have a quorum. Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn the meeting over to our counsel, Jason. Anyone who intends to testify this evening, we only have one case on the books for this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to our counsel, and he'll explain about swearing you in, taking the oath. So, Jason.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jason Hartzell. I'm legal counsel for the Board of Zoning Appeals. Any decision the board makes tonight can be appealed to Common Pleas Court. If that were to happen, the court would use the record we create here tonight in deciding that appeal. However, in order for the court to use that record, any testimony given has to be under oath. So anybody who wishes to speak for or against the variance tonight, when you approach the mic, I'll swear you in, so your testimony will be under oath.
Okay, thank you. All right. So the next item on the agenda is actually opening for the public hearing, and the one case we have on the books. I'm going to ask Rachel if you can read that into the record, please.
Okay. Applicant David and Ronnie Schimmels filed a variance application for property located at 366 Apple Tree Drive. The request is to allow the installation of 75 lineal feet of 10 feet tall privacy fencing in violation of section 6.13B3, which requires that fencing shall not exceed 6 feet in height in the R1 zoning district.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, I find no error in our zoning inspector requiring a variance to be filed for this particular case. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start by asking anyone here in the room who is in favor of this variance, if you could state your name and tell us what you're looking to do. Please.
My name is Ronnie.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Ronnie. Anyone who wishes to speak, I'm so sorry to do this to you, but we ask that you stand at the podium so that your testimony is captured on the live stream.
Okay. I'm Ronnie Schimmels. We were one of the applicants on the request.
Do we need this?
Yeah, and actually before you just raise your right hand, and do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
And the reasoning, I guess, that we want the fence is just that we have varying differences of opinions on how to maintain our yards. I understand that we're in a township and there's different limitations on heights and things that you can do. We're just trying to improve our property. We have a raised deck. They have a higher raised deck. So a 6 foot is not providing privacy when we're on our deck. The 10 foot is what we applied for. We'd be open to an 8 foot as well. And we just have, we've sent in pictures and we just have different opinions on yards and how they're maintained. We're just trying to improve our property. So that's really our only request in it.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else who is here to speak in favor of the request? If you'd like to approach the podium, please.
You can just go ahead and identify yourself.
All right. My name is Sean Whitty. Live at 1199 Heatherstone Drive.
Thank you. And raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the statements you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
It is.
Thank you.
I support their decision. I live behind them, close to the neighbor, or right next to the neighbor they're having issues with. We lived there for 12 years. The first 5 years was a living hell because that same neighbor caused problems disputing property lines. She killed the grass. If I could have the money, I'd be requesting the same thing. She has put up vulgar signs on trees in front of my kids who are young. And she is not someone I would like to have visible to anyone that comes to my house, period. We've had the sheriff call on us multiple times disputing property lines. Once she got a survey, she found out she was completely wrong. To which then she decided to plant briar bushes on the fence line, which is also against Ohio code. I'm not sure if you've looked that up. And she also put up a jerry-rigged fence with T-poles and wire fence, which is about 6 foot as well, just to cause more issues, I believe. So that's all I've got right now.
Okay, thank you. What we're doing, we're going to ask anyone who has, thank you, who has anything to speak in favor of the request to approach the board. Then we'll ask for anyone who's opposed to the variance, and then we'll open up for questions from the board, and so that's the way we'll do this. So is there anyone else here in favor of the request? Yes, please.
Yeah, just go ahead and identify yourself.
My name is Dave Schimmels, and I live at 366 Apple Tree Drive.
And then, do you swear affirm the statements you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
And same thing my wife had mentioned is, you know, with the deck being up, you know, it's an investment. All this comes down to is that we want to improve our property where they're very nosy people, and we're not like that. It's just, all I want to do is, you know, 6 foot was going to be fine. They tore down their fence. We were on vacation, come back. They tore down their 6 foot fence, which is on 4 foot posts, which technically is more of a hazard if the wind blows it. It was starting to come into my yard. They finally tore it down. Now I got to look at a compost pile in the back. And it's just, you know, they just don't care, and that's fine. I don't care how someone lives, but just take care of it. And I don't want to look at it, and that's my reasoning for a 10-foot fence. I've seen it somewhere else. I figured, why not ask? You know, I'm not saying it's gonna, you know, work or not, but I just figured, you know, this is my best chance, and, you know, it's just an improvement. And that's all we're trying to do, is just make things look good, you know, and if you see some of the pictures of the yard, I mean, you'd understand if you had it in your next door neighbor's yard, you probably won't want to look at a bunch of weeds growing, thistle, prickers, bushes, I mean, it's just out of hand. And I don't care that they want to live that way. I just want to protect my yard from that coming into my yard. So, but that's it. I mean, there's probably more, but.
Thank you. Please.
Marty Astor, 360 Apple Tree Drive.
Do you swear affirm the statements you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
I live on the opposite side of Ronnie and Dave. I've lived in the development for 30 years. Ever since she moved in, the house has been an eyesore. I'm more than happy to see a 10-foot fence go up there. If she wants to live like that, that's fine, but not in a development where people have come to my house and asked, what's going on with that house? What's up with that yard? I'd love to see it blocked, so I have to sit on my deck and look at it.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor of the variance? Okay, and what we'll do is I'll ask anyone here that speaking against the variance request. Okay. All right, at this point, I'd like any questions from the board on the request?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Dale.
Question. How are you intending to install it? I'm not sure. Who's gonna do it? Are you doing it yourself or?
Well, I plan on either doing it myself or having someone do it for me.
Right.
And, you know, to go above and beyond, if I were to do a 10-foot fence, which economically right now, the wood's expensive, so I would drop it down to 8 foot, if I was allowed to do that.
Right.
And, you know, I was gonna use 6x6 posts, even bigger than 4x4, so I know, because I understand with wind, and I understand what the argument is about it, but I just was just, you know, that was I'm gonna build it strong like a wall. So,
Did you have in mind to have like a survey done of the
I
property?
had a
line?
survey done, I actually have the documents here of the survey, I had everything marked, prior to when we moved in 2 years ago, just to make sure, because we already knew from when we moved in, it was already a problem from day one, we knew it. So we just did our due diligence, and we followed, and we're just legally just trying to do everything we can, just put them, you know, just divide us, you know, I mean, so I don't have to look at it. That's my main thing, you know, and that's why I wanna do a board on batten, which is, there's no gaps. It's an actual fence, so the weeds can't grow through my fence. It's just, I wanna keep a clean property, you know. I wanna sell it one day and get as much as I can, that's what I'm now. So.
Have you had an opportunity to see a 10-foot high fence? I mean, it is up in the air.
10 is very high. I put my tape measure up and I go, hey, that's pretty high. And the only reason I say, I was in Texas at my cousin's one time, and they had a 10-foot fence in Texas, they can do that. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool, I wish I could do that, you know? And of course, I have to live next to the worst neighbors in the neighborhood. So, unfortunately, that's just the decision I wanted to come up with, and reason why I'm asking, you know?
The type of fencing you're gonna use, you're gonna use vinyl, or you're using wood?
Wood.
You're gonna use wood, okay.
That's why I wanna go 6x6 posts, because, you know, wood today warps very easy, and the 4x4s, I put up a 6-foot fence, and they just warp, and I don't want it to look bad, I just want it to be strong enough to withhold winds, and whatever, even if I had to go every 6 feet with a post, that's what I would do. 10-foot, I'd probably go every 6 feet, not every 8 feet, you know, for extra strength. You know, I mean, I know it costs money, I mean, I don't wanna spend the money, they had a 6-foot fence up. I didn't even wanna move it, but they took it down, we were on vacation, come back 2 weeks ago, and it's, now it's laying in the yard, if the wind blows it, it's gonna damage something. So, you know, it's just annoying is what it is, it's all it is, it's just annoying.
Now, you're just fencing the one side, you're not fencing the back, you're not
I
fencing?
am gonna fence, but I'm just gonna do 6. 10 was just on their side.
Mainly the way our decks
Because their deck is higher than our deck because they put an extra deck step up where the hot tub is, so they can just look over to our, you know, they're just, you know, very annoying. Just, you know, it's just, I just want a little bit extra privacy. 8 foot will do a little bit better. The 2 feet will actually give us enough to kind of clear, so she'd have to get on a box or something to look at us.
I was gonna say, I've been on this board for like 20 years, we've never had a 10-foot fence that I'm aware of ever come
I know,
through.
I know, it's a little extravagant, it's probably despite right now, is because I just said figure 10 foot, because that's what I've seen before, other states, and I know, I've never seen a 10 foot, and I'm in construction, so.
'Cause that's pretty tall, especially on that size
Yes,
lot.
and I agree, I'm totally, it was just throw it in there, but, you know, I'm hoping that the 8 foot that I mentioned, I'd be allowed to do 8 foot, because it's more of a standard, you know, size, you know, in measurements wise, you know. 10 foot would be just too.
And that 10 feet is even more with wind and
Yeah, and
balance.
that's
of
why
that.
I'm okay, and I knew I probably wouldn't be okay. I mean, I'm already, but if I can go with an 8 foot, I'd be okay with that. You know, if you guys would allow that to happen.
So do you want to revise your request,
Well, that's what I don't know, because when I was asking if I was able to put that request in as a 10 foot, if I can't do 10, I wanted to do 8. I didn't know I had to actually have that, because I did note that in the letter, but I don't know if that's.
we can revise that here, correct?
Yes, yeah, you guys could approve 8 because
Right.
it is less than what he's requesting. If it was 10 and then he wanted 12, we'd have to resubmit public notices, but.
Okay.
Yeah, so to clarify, so you are willing to revise your request to 8 feet, and the request would be just for the side on the south side, not the other three
Yes.
sides, that would still
Yeah,
be
it's
6 feet.
just this side,
Okay.
and the rest is 6 going around.
Okay, so for the record, I also wanted to mention, we have a number of emails that we've received from neighbors, some in support, couple not in support. So we have those for the record, and we've read those as well. We also have 3 pictures of the property in question that our zoning inspector took this afternoon. So we have those as reference. I want to do 2 things. First, I want to read what is called the Duncan factors. This is something that guides boards of zoning appeals in terms of whether, things to consider in terms of granting variances. So I'm just going to state this for the record. And then I may ask the applicant to come up and have a couple of questions on the picture where the fence would be placed. And then any additional questions from the board. So what you're applying for is what's known as an area variance. So it's a variance of the zoning resolution that has to do anything with area, size of fences in this case, or setback requirements. And you have to meet the hurdle of a practical difficulty. So that's as the Duncan factors, something from previous litigation that kind of spelled out. There's 7 key factors that boards of zoning appeals look at when determining whether to grant a variance. So I'll just read those for you. So the first factor is to consider is whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without the variance. Okay, so that's the first one. The second is whether the variance is substantial. What we mean by substantial is does it significantly exceed the request? So in one case, a 10-foot variance would be a 67% deviation. An 8-foot would be a 33%. Okay, so that's why we asked about the 8-foot. The third factor is whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer substantial detriment as a result of the variance. The fourth is whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services such as water, sewer, and garbage. I believe that's the case. That's not in factor here. The other is whether the property owner purchased the property with the knowledge of the zoning restrictions that were in place at the time. So you purchased the property a couple years ago? Okay, so. The sixth factor is whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some other method than a variance, such as going with a 6-foot fence. Then there would not be the need for a variance. And the seventh factor is whether the spirit and the intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. So what that means is to make sure we honor the integrity of the variance of the zoning requirement so that a variance is still in alignment with reasonable deviations that honor the integrity of the zoning resolution in the first place. Okay, so a couple of factors for the board's consideration is the deviation of a 33% or a 66%. The board members could see that as being a substantial variance, and the other is the impact on the neighborhood. So I just wanted to read that into the record for you. Can I ask if you could approach the board? We have some pictures, and so could you show us on this picture where you're envisioning to put the new fence?
Well, where there's string right here,
Yeah.
I had to put that up just to show that our property line, because our stake is here,
Mhm.
and it's just gonna go, it's actually probably a good foot from that fence.
Mhm.
And that's where she put hers. Now, that's still her property.
Mhm.
They just, when they put their fence in, they put it in an angle. So back over here, up here, they have like literally 3 feet that we filled in with some dirt just because we had plants here. So we had to
Mhm.
fill this area in.
Mhm.
Well, we grew grass or whatever. Well, that's where she said all this dirt that filled in, pushed up against her fence or something. The fence was fine, except that it started blowing off because it's 4 foot. So just along that edge, you know. And this is where her deck just steps up over here. So the 8 foot would literally just come right up just enough over this,
Mhm.
railing. It's not gonna be even,
Mhm.
I don't know, you know, I mean,
Okay.
it's hard to kinda show you how it's at right there, but the string is where my line is from my property line all the way back.
And when you're referencing the compost pile, is that where you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't know if you have another angle picture, but if you come around, it's really, you get over this side, it goes all the way across. And I know, you know, we don't have yard waste, and I know they burn their leaves, I mean, it's not like I call them, whatever, but I've never seen, they don't take them out, they go in the back of the blue tarps and dump everything, and it's just been happening since we've been there. I don't know if it's been 2 years, you know, 20 years or whatnot, but that land here is really high. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm sure that wasn't graded that way 20, 30 years ago.
But the even at 6 foot, I mean, obviously that takes out a lot of that.
Not when we're on our deck. When we're on our deck, that's what we see.
Okay.
And at 2 feet will give us, because I put up a tape measure and I even tested it, and it hides a lot more. That 2 feet gives me a lot more to hide. Is that it?
Harley, have you been out, have you had issues in that with those properties at all?
There is, historically, those signs sound familiar to me. I feel like there was an ongoing issue with signage complaints being placed and directed towards another neighbor. I can't verify that this is the location, but as soon as they mentioned it, that was my first thought. Now, as I have been out to this property, and when I took these pictures, I can tell you that that is a substantial grade increase, to the point where I was a little shocked by how tall that is, especially in Heatherstone. It doesn't seem like something that the builder left there, but maybe has been accumulated over years under like yard waste and debris sort of growing. The pictures don't do it justice, how
Well, yeah,
incredibly tall that is, but.
That's why I was wondering what your thoughts were on it.
It is very tall. Is my opinion on that.
And let me note too now, when we moved in, there was literally, when it rains hard, it's a river. It was on her property and my property. And it's just standing water forever. It would never go anywhere. Well, it's because the property just haven't been taken care of in many years. And we're just raising a sewer that we're enjoying with them. And all I did was just pitch everything, I didn't lift it that high, but I just set all the dirt on, everything's flowing to the sewer. And I didn't lift their property up, everything's flat the same way. It's just, there's nothing like grass for it to flow.
Right.
It just turns into a river. And so we're just improving that end of it, and since we haven't had any more rivers. And it's not, they don't have a river and we don't have a river. So it's not like I, intentionally was trying to flow water towards her place or anything. We were just trying to just grade it the right way, that's all I can do.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions, thoughts, comments from the board?
Just maybe one question, and I've seen people do this before when they've attempted to reduce visibility right from their decks, because you have an elevated deck, you can see over your fence, and as you indicated, if it's 6 foot, you're going to see over that. And even from a cost factor, it may perhaps be less, but have you considered creating screening on the deck itself to
Well,
block
that's
that
gonna be
view
the
and
second
still
part.
stay with a 6 foot fence?
That's because even with the 8 foot, we're still gonna see them. It's not like it's gonna totally like block everything. It's more of their weeds and stuff in the back. And then the deck, we are gonna do something off our deck to screen that part so they're just not right there, because they're just nosy. So, and that's okay. You wanna be who you wanna be, but I'm gonna block you the best I can, and I'm gonna ask whatever I can get away with legally to make this, comfortable for us. That's all we're trying to do I don't want nothing to do with them. All I do is just want to be comfortable in my own yard, that's all.
Another thought along that line too is shrubbery, you know, like arborvitae, things like that.
We thought of that,
Can help
but
some
we
of
have
that.
those 4 big pines in our way. And it's like, I didn't wanna put all that shrubbery on that side with our pines, cause it's not gonna make sense, and just,
Yeah, I was just like even closer to your deck, just to give yourself a little bit of buffer. Just a thought.
I see somebody raise their hand in the back.
Oh, yeah, I was just commenting on him too, just the 8 foot, I mean, it's like, we did 10, even sitting on our deck, we could still, if they were standing, we could still see them on the deck. I mean, we would really have to go extremely high to completely block out them on their deck, because their deck is so high. And it's just, you know, we're just trying to improve our property. They wanna live a certain way, we wanna live a certain way, we don't agree. We're just trying to make our property better while also solving a lot of other issues that is not the point here. I'm not gonna get into all the other issues. So there's multiple reasons for a fence. It's not only to look at their yard, that's our main concern, but there's multiple other issues that could come to light as well.
Anyone else? So let me make an observation. So you're asking right now for a 10-foot fence, which is a significant variance. And we could go forward and take a vote. I can't tell you how the board's going to vote. Another option is for you to amend the variant and for us to consider an 8-foot fence. And again, I can't tell you how the board's going to vote, but it's something that I would throw out as a question. And the other thing is just to consider putting in a 6-foot fence, which you won't need a variance. So I go back to you and say, you know, how would you like for us to proceed in terms of?
either way, I'm putting the fence up regardless,
Yeah.
however it goes and rolls. But I just wanna see if I can get it, you know, if anything, an 8. I would rather vote on an 8 than a 10. Yeah.
Either a 10 or 8. I'm willing to drop to 8 if that's more likely to get a yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that would be more likely because the percentages you're giving me is a little bit better, but
Again,
it's still high. It's still high, I get, but, you know,
I can't speak for the board. All I can
I
say
know.
is the size of the variance is something that we all have to consider.
oh, I understand.
Also, so if we make the conditions to be an 8-foot fence, that would be using 6x6 posts
Yes,
that are 8 foot out of the ground?
yes,
Okay. And it's on the south side of the house?
yes.
Okay.
All right.
And how far apart did you say you would put the posts?
Well, if I get to 8, I'm probably gonna do 8, because I'm using 2x4 cross, treated lumber, and then just pine.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. My mind is stuck on variance versus conditional use.
Mhm.
But can we establish stipulations on the variance versus, since it's not a conditional use, can we do that?
The board has in the past, and we feel strongly that the board has the authority to place conditions on a variance. Another way to address this is to have the applicant state that their request is an 8-foot tall fence with 6x6 posts, you know, and the appropriate length, the appropriate width or the appropriate depth in the ground. Another thing to consider is that the building department, I believe, gets involved when the fence reaches 8 feet. And they have post hole requirements as well that should add another level of protection. But if the board would like to hear exactly what is being proposed in terms of construction and vote on that, the board can ask the applicant to step to the podium and state those conditions.
Thank you.
Thoughts from the board? Okay.
That would be
Okay.
Just one more thing if I could say.
Sure.
I also just want to say that while we're talking about doing it ourselves, we have had multiple quotes from multiple
Mhm.
fencing companies as well. We're just trying to also do it as cost efficient as we can.
Understood.
He's in construction, he's capable of doing it as well. So
Okay.
we've also had other opinions from other, like, fence builders and things like that.
Okay. Good. So, Mr. Schimmels, would you mind approaching the podium? And Harley, I'll ask you to help him. We're going to ask you to state your request for a variance, beginning with the fact that it would be an 8-foot as opposed to a 10-foot, and then with some other conditions that we're gonna specify in terms of construction, so.
Okay, I would like to ask for a variance for an 8-foot fence instead of the 10. And whatever you need from me to make it stronger, I'll use 6x6 posts. Whatever I can do to make it withhold the winds, you know, with the weather elements here we have here in Northeast Ohio.
Sure.
You know, so.
So they're gonna need specifications. So the 6x6 posts, you're requesting a variance for an 8-foot fence, proposing installation with 6x6 posts at whatever the most appropriate length is. I'm not in construction. I'm assuming they're gonna be 8 foot out of the ground.
Yes, it's good,
And
yes.
however many, what is the appropriate depth? Are you aware?
Well, on this one, you know, typically 40 inches below freeze. But, you know, if I gotta go 48, I'll go 48, because I gotta use a 12-foot post anyway, and you can go 8, so I'll probably go 48 deep.
Okay,
So-
I believe the building standard might be further than a normal 6-foot fence to accommodate for the weight. You can't quote me on that because I don't enforce building code. I can verify
Well, I
that
think it's-
information with the
Well,
building
he
department,
would have
but,
to meet the county building code.
yes.
And I would
We
get
can
those
make that
specs,
part of.
yeah.
Okay.
And whatever specs they require, I go that depth, but I know like on 6 foot, it was like 40 inches. I think it's actually 36.
Okay.
But I went deeper just because I know with the frost and they'll lift. So,
Okay.
you know, I go as deep as I can.
Okay, so the 6x6 posts, the depth would be the recommended depth based on Lake County Building Department code requirements. Above ground or above grade height of 8 foot on the 6x6
Yes.
posts. The post would be located every, what was that, 8 feet?
Every 8 feet.
Every 8 feet. And the fence would be located along the south property line in the rear portion of the property only.
Yes.
Were those all of them?
Okay. Is that agreeable?
That's agreeable.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other, thank you
It
so
is?
much.
All right, thanks.
All right, so, any other questions or thoughts from the board before we go to taking, requesting a motion? Any other final comments from anyone for or against? Okay, so what we're going to need is a motion. The way this will work, we'll take a motion, and it needs to be seconded by the board, and then we'll take a vote. We always word the motion in terms of granting the variance, so it doesn't mean it's granted until we take the vote, but that's our standard practice of how we word the motion. So we have the conditions listed. Rachel, do you have that copy? Can you read that back to us so we have it?
I can try.
Okay, go ahead.
Before, one extra thing, because they read the same thing, as 75 feet, it's actually 105 feet, if you want to note that down.
Linear feet? Okay.
From, I mean, same line.
Yeah.
That was just an estimate.
Will that end at the, or begin at the back
of
corner
my
of your
corner
house?
of my house,
Okay.
to my property line.
Unfortunately, that is an increase in the variance request that was submitted in the public notices to the newspapers. To amend the request to include an additional lineal feet, we would have to resubmit the public notices to the newspapers. And the board would not be able to make a vote tonight on the additional lineal feet. So,
Well, if I were to leave it at 6 feet back there, would that be fine?
yeah, what
Because it's
they're
like
voting on
literally
is
not that
75
much
lineal
more.
feet.
Okay.
So if that's,
Otherwise, we would just have to apply for the additional 25 feet for another
Yeah.
feet. Okay.
All right.
So it has to be.
I knew I was gonna be a fall, because I didn't, I just assumed it's my back section 75, and that's why I wrote it down, so, honest mistake.
So that's fine.
We're gonna stay with the 75.
75 feet will be the, one of the one of the.
75.
I'm just confused on what to say. It's scratch on my paper.
No, that's all right, that's all right. Would it be all right if
Please.
I made the statement? The variance request is for an 8-foot tall wooden privacy fence, a total of 75 lineal feet. The construction would consist of 6-by-6 posts with a post hole depth as required by the Lake County Building Department. The post height above grade would be 8 feet tall. They would be placed 8 foot apart. Not sure if I said that already. And I believe that's it.
Running from the rear corner of the house
South side.
to 75 feet, starting at the rear corner of the house.
Starting at the south side of the home, from the rear corner of the house towards the rear property line.
For a length of 75 feet.
Oh, with a length of 75 lineal feet.
That's one of the longer motions we've had in a long time. Yeah, very good. Okay, so that is the variance that we're going to be asking for a first and a second on, and then taking a vote. Okay, so is the board all okay on the wording of the variance? So who would like to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the variance number 2021-0001-BCA
Okay. Do I have a s-
as with the conditions as stipulated.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, Rachel, could you take the roll, please?
Okay, Ken,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Vice Chairman.
Yes. Okay, so the variance is passed, the motion's carried, so you're good to go there. Now, another thing how soon do you want to get started on this?
Well, as soon as I was
Okay.
waiting for your okay.
I think I knew the answer to that already. All right. The reason I ask is typically, the variance won't take effect until the board's next regular meeting when we approve the minutes, unless we journalize this particular entry tonight, which will require another vote, and if it's successful, then you could start any time.
Okay.
So would you like for us to journalize
Yes,
in?
please.
Okay. Need a
I'll
motion?
make the motion to approve case number 2021-001, BZA.
To journalize.
To journalize.
I'll second. I'll second.
All right, Ken. Okay, would you call the vote, please, Rachel?
Okay, Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
Vice Chairman.
Yes. Okay, so it's journalized, so you're good to go. I can check with our zoning inspector on any questions. I do want to thank everyone. Thank you for being willing to be flexible and to consider our concerns as well. So wish you good luck. Thank you. All right, thanks. Okay. All right, you're all free to stay or go. This is going to conclude the public meeting. We just have a little more business to take care of.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so that closes the public hearing. Open up a regular meeting. So the first item on the regular meeting is the acknowledgement of the minutes from June 8th, 2021. Does any board member have any edits that they want to make to the minutes?
I have not.
No? Okay, then we'll need a motion and a second to approve the minutes from last month's meeting. So who'd like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from the June meeting.
Thank you, Ken. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, could you call the roll, please? Rachel?
Okay, Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
Vice Chairman.
Yes. Okay, minutes are approved. Is there any old business anyone needs to bring up? Any new business? Okay, hearing none, then we're going to move to adjournment. Our next regular meeting is Tuesday, August the 10th, 6:30 p.m. here. Do I need a motion to adjourn? I never remember if I do or not.
That's a question for that gentleman over there.
I do? Okay,
Typically, yeah.
thank you. All right, who'd like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
Thank you, Randy.
Second.
Ken, second. All okay. Rachel, can you call the roll, please?
That was Ken seconded?
Mr.
I
Chairman,
second
Yeah.
it.
these folks seem to be waiting for
Yeah, I
some kind
didn't
of.
know how to.
Yeah, and I don't, we didn't know how
follow
this worked. We wanted to
Ask some
present our.
questions and present some, things about our property that we're having issues with, also, so I didn't know how to go about that.
How do we do that?
They said to come to the board
Yeah.
meeting and talk to you guys about it, so,
Was it in regards to the case specifically?
no, it's our own, but we were questioning the fencing,
Yeah.
the guidelines for the property. So I didn't know how to go about that, and the lady here said to come to the board
Come to the
meeting
board
and
meeting,
ask.
I said,
Okay, so here we are.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, okay.
Here we are, and she did a beautiful presentation for you.
Oh, well, I would be glad to meet with you on that.
Okay.
You guys did need to come to the board meeting, unfortunately, so I'm sorry that you were
Oh,
misinformed.
Well, we wrote it down, yeah, 6:32.
We would be new business then, right?
If it was to go before the board, it sounds like it's most appropriate to be addressed with,
It's about fencing.
yes, so that would be something that I would handle. If you're requesting a variance or if you wanted to speak on a case, the board is the most appropriate.
Well, that's why we came,
Yeah.
because I'm confused on the fencing for the properties, for
Yeah.
what we want to do to the
Well,
whole.
tell them what we want to do.
I have a miniature pony. That is
Oh,
about-
oh, that's over here, yes,
Yes.
okay, I knew I recognized you.
Yeah,
And I was,
yeah. And we want to know what
It's
kind
like,
of
it's
fencing
an odd
you
thing
want.
to ask,
Oh,
but we
okay.
wanna know if we can bring them home. And we have a big backyard,
Yeah,
that's
shed,
2 lots.
everything,
We
yeah.
brought the deed even to show you guys. I took pictures on my tablet to
Yeah,
show
we were
you.
gonna show you a real nice
Um,
presentation.
So she was-
Did-
I
did-
really didn't know
so,
what to
okay,
do.
this is for an agricultural conditional use permit.
Yes, yeah.
Did you guys submit your application?
Yeah, we did what,
She told us to fill out the papers, and we did, but then she said to come to the,
just come to the
here.
meeting, that's all she said.
And come to you in front of you guys.
Oh,
Talk
okay.
to you guys about it.
Oh, goodness, okay, so for an agricultural conditional use permit, it is another public hearing. The
Okay.
application needs to be received by our office.
Oh, okay, but
Do
is
you
that
have
this?
it? What she gave us.
That would be this?
That is exactly what that would be. So you would
Oh, see,
submit
we
the
didn't-
application to me, and then I would
Oh.
process it. We would have to put a
Okay.
legal
And
notice in the
neighbors have to be
newspaper.
notified
So,
in order to
actually, if you
attend
guys
if they
want to
have
leave
all
that
that.
with me,
They
Okay.
can come like they did. And
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
They were all
So,
notified about this.
well,
last-
actually, it's really nice that it works out that way, because then you get a preview of what it is
Right.
you're going to be doing. But,
She
so
did a
this,
beautiful presentation.
oh, well,
I'd love
they'll
for
get
you
a
guys
chance to see it. They'll get a chance to see it.
That's when I was asking if there was anybody to speak against, I thought
I know.
no, that's,
This is all new.
no,
So,
we're glad you're here.
Okay.
Apologize that, but
Oh, goodness, I'm so
Um,
sorry that
That's okay.
our zoning
That's my
inspector,
deed. Do you wanna look at
she'll
that
take
or
care of
not?
you.
okay.
And then we'll
Okay.
set up, if you decide to go forward with the request, then we'll set up another public hearing like this. That way
That way it's
as
about
all the
this.
neighbors can be
Yeah, right.
informed. Right.
Okay.
What about the neighbors?
Well, if they wanna come,
They-
like.
they have
If they have,
to-
if they have something to say for or against it.
Matthew,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll be the one to send out a legal
Okay.
notice
Actually,
to
what
all
I
of your
think-
surrounding neighbors, so
Okay.
that they'll
You
know
guys
that
want
something's
to
coming up.
schedule a meeting
His
with
name's
me
not Little
tomorrow?
Sebastian.
What time?
What time are you available?
What's tomorrow, Wednesday?
You got that one.
Yes,
We
I
can
did.
make it work.
Perfect.
I take,
That was a good one.
has to go to dialysis at 9, we could be here at 9:30.
Perfect. And then
Then
Do I
I,
need to be here?
Yeah.
9:30, I think. Okay.
Well,
That's
what
fine.
about 10?
Well, I just said after we were done with, Rascal.
Oh, after 3 then?
Like 2.
Oh, how's 2 then?
We
We got,
like all scattered
our
out.
dad's has to go to dialysis, we take care of a horse, you know.
no, that's all right, that's all
Not
right.
a horse, he's a pony.
Two
He's
is
only
fine.
this high.
2 is fine.
Little
And then
Sebastian.
we'll sit down, we'll talk about everything that we
2
need
o'clock?
and
Is that
any
better?
other additional documents that I might be able to help you with, like a
Okay.
site plan. We can.
I already.
I was very informed about
Perfect.
Yeah,
So
we're glad you.
I
very
got drawings too for you guys.
Well, see, now you know what to expect, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it.
Well,
Don't lose our
well,
deed.
you you take this with you.
Oh,
I'll
you
see
want
it
me-
tomorrow, and then I'll
Oh,
take whatever
all
else
right.
you tomorrow.
Okay.
Would you like to see the presentation that she
Okay,
did?
so you guys will be showing till next month.
These guys don't want to see it? Oh, they'll see it next week.
Well,
Oh, it's beautiful.
We'll look forward to that.
Nice job.
Okay.
And when you see Rascals, he's adorable.
Thank you for letting us know. Harley will take care of you, and we'll get everything set up for next meeting. Thank you. So I don't think, you're welcome, absolutely. So I don't think we thought, we didn't take, so I need a motion to adjourn in a second.
We have a motion and
Oh, we
a
did?
second, we just need the roll.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Do we
Thank you.
normally call a roll for
Okay.
adjourning?
No, this will be the first time.
First time? Okay. Ken?
Yes.
But you gentlemen will get to see this tape that she did.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Pictures and
Is there gonna be
And you'll tell us what kind of.
You bringing
fence-
popcorn?
Yeah, we're doing that. Maybe we'll bring Rascals. Oh, wouldn't that be cute?
I'm really looking forward to this.
I am too. I want this next month for the world.
He's absolutely adorable. Prettiest eyes. Oh, my God.
Like little Sebastian. You guys know who that is?
All right.
No?
Yeah, she's got a
Yeah.
picture
All
of
right, let us finish the roll call here, so go ahead.
We didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay, that's fair.
Sorry. Okay, so Ken said yes. Randy?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
Dave Linderos?
But
Stay all right.
Vice Chairman?
Yes, okay, so we're adjourned. All right, thank you, everyone.
Maybe Tom will be back for the big show next month.
Yeah, we get a whole pony in, that'd be exciting.
Sure.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
You can do anything. The meeting's over. You can do